Hello guys and welcome back to Planet 40k Necrons. Now in today's video we're going to be going through that leak for the core rulebook or the core rules for 10th edition. Somebody has leaked a 20-page dossier, if you like, of the core rules. It does look very legit. It looks exactly how Games Workshop have been styling out all the abilities and stuff like that. So it's got this new 10th edition style to it. It does look very legit. So we're going to be going through this 20-page dossier, and I'm going to be talking about key things that have changed from 9th to 10th edition. I'm also going to try and relate it to Necrons where I can. But mainly I want to look at the points of note that have changed for the editions really. Because there's quite a few changes that will go under the radar as well. So let's begin. I'm going to try and show you as much as I can here. So this will be on camera. In fact, yeah, guys, I'm going to be doing this on the fly. So you'll have to bear with me. I've only just sort of read through this, and if I start planning this out, I won't get this out until tomorrow. So I thought I'd rather just kind of do this on the fly. I'm going to wing it and hopefully it'll be out today. So, shooting phase is the first page of this 20-page thing that we're going to go through. I'm obviously going to skip through anything that's kind of the same. We don't really need to discuss absolutely everything, otherwise we'll be here for an hour. That's not what I intend to do to you guys. But this page looks very similar to how it was. Lone Operative, they've already announced what that is, so I don't need to go through that. Big guns never tire. There's a little change in there. So monster units and vehicle units are eligible to shoot even if they're within engagement range. That was already there. But you can also select an enemy monster or vehicle unit within engagement range of one or more of the units in the army's target. I've read that completely messed up there, but basically monsters and vehicles can be targeted even though they're within engagement range. It will be at a -1 to hit penalty unless you're using a pistol, but pistols aren't going to do much, are they? So yeah, you can now fire at, for example, Ghost Arcs. The way I used to play Ghost Arcs is sort of tie up a unit, make it very difficult because of the quantum shielding. So they were on an objective, they had objective skill back then, right? Not getting targeted at range and just holding on to the objective. Now they can be targeted, which, yeah, that's not great for our vehicles. And of course the Catan shards are monsters as well, so they can be targeted even if they're locked in combat. Now of course your opponent could just fall back, but now they're not as likely to fall back because they can still be targeted by other models. So look out for that one. Monsters and vehicles can be targeted at range. They have confirmed what stealth is. I kind of already gathered this anyway, but they've now, well, I say confirmed, it's a leak, you know what I mean. It's a -1 to hit penalty if anything's got stealth. I know Bellacor's got stealth, but along with a lot of other abilities, but that's one that's definitely going to be a pain in the ass to get rid of, is Bellacor. Making attacks, I'm just looking at some notes I've got here. That page is pretty much as it was, I believe. Can never be modified by more than a +1 or a -1. That's kind of as it was, right? Nothing new there to the wound roll. Incredible saves. Allocating, we'll get onto that. There's something else about allocation later in this video, so we'll wait until we get onto that. Saving throws are pretty much as they were, I believe. There was one thing though. A saving throw can never be improved by more than a +1. So a cover save is a +1 to the armor save, right? So what was the faction that I did recently where I've covered the faction focus and it was a +1 to the armor save? I can't remember which one it was. I've done so many this past few days. There's one that had a +1 to the armor save and I said it stacks with cover. Well, this kind of confirms that it doesn't, because you can't go more than +1. What else they got? Feel No Pains, we kind of already knew what that is. Deadly Demise, we knew what that was. Nothing new there. Weapon abilities, there's some new stuff in here. First of all, in the pistol area, obviously in 9th edition you had to select either your pistol weapon or your other range attacks. Now if you are a monster or a vehicle, you can select your pistols as well as the other range attacks. Now that's not going to affect Necrons too much. I don't think we've got... What pistols do we have other than the Hexmark Destroyer? I can't seem to think of any at the minute, but not on our vehicles and monsters, right? Not off the top of my head, no. But just watch out for that with other factions. They may have pistols on their vehicles, but yeah, it's not going to be that big of a deal. Pistols don't do much. Maybe plasma pistols? I don't know. Have to wait and see on that one. There's a few other things they've confirmed here, such as Lance. We didn't know what Lance was. Not going to affect us. I don't believe we've got Lance weapons. Plasmic Lance, is that a Lance? Possibly. It's more likely going to be the things that have got the long sort of spears. Like Rough Riders was something that came to my mind. And when the bearer makes a charge move, it's a +1 to the wound roll. So, you know, that's not really going to affect us, I don't believe. Until we get the data sheets, we're kind of not 100%, are we? What we got? Blast. Now, Blast, we already knew what Blast was, well, half of what Blast was, and I kept asking in previous videos, and I kept getting the same response. Add 1 to the attacks for every 5 models in a unit. We already knew that part. The part that I really wanted to know is if we can fire it into engagement range. The answer is no, we can't. We still can't, according to this anyway. According to this leak, we cannot. Now, there's a little bit of an interesting part here, because it says can never be used against a target that is within engagement range of any enemy unit. Of any units from the attacking model's army, including its own. I don't understand that last bracketed part there, including its own. What does that mean? Is that when you've got like triple threat matches, when you've got more than 2 players? I'm not really sure. You'll have to let me know down in the comments below what that could mean. But long story short, we're not firing Blast into engagement range, unfortunately. So yeah, I can't remember if the Doomsday Arc actually has Blast. I think it did. Anyway, they've also spoke about precision. We kind of knew what this was. It's effectively you're able to target characters that are, or leaders within a unit. You can now, as long as they're visible to the firing model, then you can target that character with the precision weapon ability. Yep, we kind of knew that one as well-ish. Hazardous, I don't think we've got any plasma stuff, but it's effectively plasma weapons. They're rolling a d6 on a 1. They're taking mortal wounds. I think they've slightly changed the wording of that, but we're Necrons, we don't really have that kind of stuff, so I'm not that interested. Anti, yeah, we know that stuff. Yeah, onto the charge phase, I noticed something, where was it? Charging over terrain. A model can be moved over terrain features that are 2 inches or less in height, as if they were not there. A model can be moved vertically in order to climb up and down over any terrain features that are taller than this, counting the vertical distance up and down as part of its charge move. Models cannot end the charge mid-climb, So previously, for example, ruins. Infantry models could just charge through ruins, didn't need visibility, and of course if you were behind obscuring terrain, you couldn't get shot at with Overwatch either. And now you've got to physically climb over stuff, or if it's under 2 inches, you don't have to. 2 inches or more, in fact more than 2 inches, not 2 inches or more, you've literally got to take that movement away from your charge move. So that's going to help, and it's also going to not help, if that makes sense. Our Scorpion Destroyers, our Lich Guard, anything that previously could just walk through terrain as if it wasn't there, will now have to suffer the movement. And it's the same with the flying units as well. They've got to still fly over, as it says here. You've still got to make the move as if you were flying. I mean, this was a thing by the end of 9th edition anyway, but now it's kind of going to be used for all units rather than units with flying. On to the fight phase. What did I have in my notes for fight phase? That part was pretty much the same. There was a few bits. Where was it? Let's have a look. Consolidation. I found something in the consolidation that was a little bit strange. Well, 2 things in fact. Let me try and get hold of it. So when you're consolidating, every model that moves must end closer to the closest enemy model and in base-to-base contact with an enemy model if possible. So you don't have the option of just moving closer. It is literally telling you that you must get into base-to-base contact with enemy models where possible, or if possible. Previously we were using it to maneuver around, and then on your next turn you kind of do another pile-in where you're moving around 3 inches again, and you're doing this sort of merry-go-round trying to get onto objectives and just take board control. Now it's saying you literally can't. You've got to get into base combat. That's not with pile-ins, that's just with consolidations. There's also something else in consolidations I spotted, which was, if the above is not possible, each model can move towards the closest objective marker, but this must result in the unit being within range of it and in unit coherency. So if an objective marker is within 3 inches of your unit that's trying to consolidate, you can move towards the objective if there is no models that you are getting into engagement range with, if that makes sense. So that's something I believe they've added, being able to jump onto an objective as well as or getting into engagement range of units. So that's the charge phase. This is just some images, data sheets, that's kind of standard stuff there. Didn't see anything. Psychic weapons, I'm still waiting for the psychic abilities to be kind of explained. I think there's just going to be some sort of anti-psychery that's going to work with that. So that's probably the only thing that I can think of, like psychic hoods. But they have just gone on to say that some weapons and abilities can be used with psychers. Such weapons and abilities tagged with the word psychic. If a psychic weapon or ability causes any other unit to suffer one or more wounds, 1 or more wounds, slow down. 1 or more wounds, each of those wounds is considered to have been inflicted by a psychic attack. So it's very clear that it's a psychic attack, so there must be sort of some anti-psychic attacks within the game. Do we have them? What about the Silent King? Maybe he has something. What about the Gloom Prism? We don't know. We'll have to see. Right, deployment abilities. We already knew what Deep Strike was. Scouts, I don't know if they already confirmed this or not, but you've got the scouting is a 6-inch pre-game move. And if you're within the vehicle model, the vehicle takes the 6-inch pre-game scout move as well. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Infiltrators, as they were. Now, leader, there's a few things in here that they've now confirmed. Right, so some characters are leaders. We've kind of already knew this from an article that they've released previously, but what they didn't completely explain is the bodyguard section here. So your leader will be attached to a bodyguard unit for the duration of the battle, and they said to be leading the unit. Now, while a bodyguard contains a leader, it is known as an attached unit, and with the exception of the rules that trigger when units are destroyed, it is treated as a single unit for all wounds purposes. You've also got to use the bodyguard's toughness rather than the toughness of the leader if they are different. And the most important part here is even if, no, not that bit, each time an attack successfully wounds an attached unit, that attack cannot be allocated to the character model even if the character model has lost 1 or more wounds or has had some attacks allocated to him in this phase. So what that kind of means is, let's imagine we had our death marks and we fired at a lieutenant that's in a attached unit of, I don't know, intercessors. We've taken 2 wounds off of the lieutenant, and then we start to attack that same unit with some immortals. The immortals, even though the lieutenant has lost wounds, we have to take wounds off of the intercessors before we start carrying on with the actual leader, which is the lieutenant. So you could have the leader as well as 1 intercessor with, less than full wounds remaining, purely because of this ruling. It's only when the bodyguards are all gone that the attacks can then be allocated to the leader of the unit. So something to note there. Like before this article, I kind of thought, well, what if we fired at the lieutenant? We put 2 mortal wounds on the lieutenant from the death marks. Because the lieutenant has now taken wounds, can everything just fire at the unit and he have to, your opponent has to take wounds off the lieutenant? The answer is no. It can't. That can't happen. Right, there's a lot of new stratagems to look at as well. We've got command reroll is pretty much the same, although they've added desperate breakout or desperate escape tests, hazardous tests, and I believe they added battle shock. Did they add battle shock? Hit wound, damage roll, saving, advanced charge. No, battle shock is not there, but everything else is pretty much there. Counter offensive is as it was. Epic challenge sounds quite cool. So this reminds me of the challenges that we used to do. I don't know what edition it was. Was it 7th, 6th? I don't know. When characters had to challenge another character. This has kind of made a return here. So 1 command point. In the fight phase, when a character unit from your army is within engagement range of 1 or more attached units selected to fight. Again, we can use that lieutenant with the intercessors as an example. If we rock up with our overlord, we can use this stratagem, 1 command point. And our melee attacks for our overlord have the precision ability, so we can actually choose to put our attack onto the lieutenant because of this stratagem and the precision ability. Other stratagems, insane bravery, that's kind of different because it allows you to roll for your battle shock test first. Then if you fail it, you can then use the stratagem, and then you basically don't fail it. So you do get the opportunity to pass it before actually using the stratagem, which is pretty cool. Grenade, I don't think we've got any grenade stuff, but it's going to units that got the grenade keyword can throw out mortal wounds. Yeah, we kind of expected that, didn't we? Tank shock, this could be interesting. This is something that was in my predictions video? No, was it a predictions video or wish list? I did a wish list, didn't I? So I said, and I used the example of a land raider being able to run over orcs. This is kind of it. This is it. So tank shock, 1 command point in your charge phase. When a vehicle model is selected at the end of the charge, you roll a number of d6 equal to the weapon's strength. So of course we're going to have melee weapons even for ghost arcs. It's just going to say, whatever it says. And if it's strength, say 6, you get 6 dice. Also, if we're greater than their toughness with our strength, we're going to get 2 additional dice. And then for every 5+ roll, the enemy suffers 1 mortal wound to a maximum of 6. So that one's going to be really good for like land raiders. I know this is a Space Marine thing because I believe they're strength 8, but monoliths in fact perfect. I'm sure that was a strength 8, right? I need to check that because I always forget the new stats because I've gone through that many. Let's have a little look. Monolith, Portal of Exile, it was strength 8. So yeah, we would be able to use this for 1 command point with the monolith. Strength 8, if it is greater than the enemy's toughness characteristic, which it likely will be, we get 2 extra dice. So we're going to have a total of 10 dice. You roll all 10. Any 5+ rolls suffer mortal wounds. So there could be, what, 3 in there, maybe 4 mortal wounds just from the monolith with tank shock. So yeah, that one is going to be a pretty cool one, you know. We've got a lot of vehicles, even the Ghost Arcs. I mean, the Ghost Arcs probably don't have the same kind of strength. Obelisk, you guys know I love an obelisk. Maybe that's going to come back, who knows. Rapid Ingress is another one. 1 command point in your opponent's movement phase. This one is actually a really good one. You can, in your opponent's movement phase, you can pretty much bring a unit in from reserve to 1 command point, as long as it isn't turn 1, of course. You can't use it then. But by bringing a unit in, you can really distract. You can really, bring in a melee unit or even a screening unit. I mean, it is at the end of your opponent's movement phase, I suppose. So you're still going to have that 9-inch restriction, but watch out for that one. I don't know exactly how we're going to use it, but watch out for it. I feel like it's going to be a good one. Fire Overwatch, there's some differences here. I think a lot of people already knew about this one. In your opponent's movement phase or charge phase. So notice it's not just the charge phase, it's the movement phase as well. Just after your enemy unit is set up anywhere. Just after an enemy unit is set up, or when an enemy unit starts or ends a normal, advance, fallback or charge move. So notice it says unit starts or ends their move. So you can do it before they even move. So target one enemy unit that's within 24 inches and you're basically eligible to do Overwatch for 1 command point, but it's 24 inches, it's not going to be the 12 inches. You also don't need to be the target of a charge. It could literally just be at the start, before your opponent even moves a single model, you can go bang, I'm doing Overwatch. And I suppose it needs to be something like, again, I'm going to use the obelisk. If it's got the same sort of abilities it had in 9th edition, it had what? 24 attacks, 24 shots with the Tesla spheres. If it remained stationary, that was strength 8, 2 damage. Now, obviously it's not going to have the same ability, so it might not be as good. It might be better, we don't know, right? But imagine 6s to hit, score additional hits with the sustained hits ability. I'd imagine Tesla gets that. 6s could be absolutely massive for our Overwatch, and doing it in their movement phase, watch out for that one as well. Go to ground is good for infantry. They get to basically, until the end of the phase, they get a 6+ invulnerable save and the benefits of cover. Yeah, I mean, it's only infantry, so you're talking Necron warriors, flayed ones, potentially even our destroyers as well. Why not? I mean, 6+ invuln save, yeah, whatever. That's better on larger units, again, flayed ones and warriors, but the benefits of cover, getting a +1 to our cover save, that could be good. Although I'm pretty sure it doesn't work on 0 AP weapons if you've got a 3+ armor save. Can't remember that one, you have to let me know. Smoke screen, we kind of gather what that would do. Benefits of cover and stealth, in fact. So we don't have any smoke keywords, I don't believe. And heroic intervention, that's another really cool one. So this one is now a stratagem. To heroically intervene is a stratagem, 2 command points. I think it should have been a stratagem all along, to be honest with you. It was way too easy for something to just jump out and do something. In your opponent's charge phase, it's a 6 inches, in fact it's 6 inches, a heroic intervention, and they gain they basically act as if they've charged, so they'll have the fight first ability, unless it is a walker. If it's a vehicle, it can only be a walker, and if it is that walker, it won't receive that charge bonus this turn. So yeah, unfortunately our Ghost Arcs, our command barges, they can't do it because they're vehicles, and they've not got the walker keyword, of course, but everything else, that's just caught me straight off guard there. So it isn't just applying to characters, is it? Of course, it's applying to any unit can do this. Anything gets within 6 inches of some, Scorpion destroyers, and they're not trying to fight them, we can go bang, 2 CP, we're going to now charge you, heroically intervening, we're going to get the bonus to fight first. Yeah, that one's going to be really, that's going to be a crazy one. I know it's 2 command points, but that's going to catch a lot of people out. You're going to have to play a lot safer than we did in 9th edition. Then the last topic and the last page was strategic reserves. Strategic reserves is now free. You can only put 25% into strategic reserves. So if you're playing Strike Force, 2,000 point game, that's only 500 points maximum can go into strategic reserves. And I've also noticed that you can come in from the second battle round, of course, hold within 6 inches of a battlefield edge, not enemy deployment zones. But from the third round onwards, you can come on from any edge. Any edge. And that could be the 4th round, the 5th round, whatever. There is no sort of you must be in by turn 3 kind of thing. And it's any edge, any battlefield edge. Again, that's something that's going to catch people out. Opponent's units coming in your back lines, turn 3. If you've not screened it out, and you know, unfortunately it's the 3rd, 4th and 5th round even. If you've not screened it out, they're coming in. So you're going to have to really watch out for that one. But yeah, that's my notes really. I made some notes reading this. There may be some things that I've missed. If there is, you'll have to let me know down in the comments below so we can have a little discussion about it in the comments. But yeah, that's the 20-page leak. Again, this is a leak. This is not confirmed. I want to make that very clear. That's a big disclaimer. It does look legit. A lot of people are making content on this actual leak. Yeah, overall, I think these rules look quite clear. I think they look clear. I mean, there's always going to be this thing. Once we start playing, we'll find ways to break the game, as we always do. And they're going to need to FAQ it, because that's just the way it is. But so far, I kind of like it. But yeah, guys, that is it from me today. I will be cracking on with my faction-focused videos that I've been doing daily. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.